let's go ahead and add some of that spillage we were talking about. So the way to do that is actually quite a sneaky way to do it, and you can see here I've got my little, I guess a new pure ref board actually, just so that we can keep an eye on what kind of, trouser configuration we want to go for. So okay, I'll keep that for about my second screen. There we go. We don't need it to take up space. But okay, let's go ahead and address that kind of spillage over the top there. So actually, the reason why I kind of brought this in, I remember now, I'm getting old, I forget things, is I actually just wanted to check the actual height of the boots, so where they'd be. So if we're looking at the concept art, it's going to be roughly around there, just underneath those folds there. So let's give it a bit of breathing room, just in case you want to adjust the height a little bit. So we'll bring it a little bit lower than the knee there, around where my mouse cursor is now. Okay, so let's go ahead and we'll do that. So how are we going to do this? Well, it's actually quite a little sneaky way. I'm just going to go ahead now and go back to our shape tool, but I'm going to select a rectangle. And I'm just going to kind of draw out a very basic long rectangle. Okay. And actually, this is a funny thing actually, because when I first found out how to do this, it reminded me of my weekend soldier army training thing that I used to do. But basically we used to use this, and you'll see how we'll do it in a minute. We'll wrap it around the shin there, and it will artificially create this kind of nice, pleasant puffiness and spillage out of the boot. And this is exactly how we used to do it in real life. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a new material. I'm going to call this spillage thing. Excellent name, I know. And we're going to go to preset, and we're going to take the toughest of them all, which is cowhide leather. That's right. So pretty stiff stuff. Or actually, you could probably go for denim, raw denim. There you go. So pretty stiff stuff. And just to designate that that's what, the item and the material we've got applied, we'll color it in blue, and we'll drag and drop it on there. Fantastic. Okay, so the trick is essentially to try and get this wrapped around in a ring around the correct part of the trousers, but we do have to use layers. So you'll notice if I select with my selection tool here the trousers, you can see that the layer is on layer 0, which is the default layer. That's fine. But in order to kind of basically stop Marvel's Designer from absolutely freaking out completely, we're going to have to add this onto a first layer, despite the warning that it says, oh, it's okay, you can do this, that's fine, but before you export it and stuff like that, you should set it back to 0, blah, blah, blah. Just ignore that, okay? Marvel's Designer doesn't know what's good for itself. We'll just adjust that in roughly the correct position there, and yes, you can actually use these little, not x-ray joints. I always get these confused. It's these. There you go. These alignment things. But do bear in mind that they're not quite at the right spot. So we do have to kind of modify that up a little bit. Now you're looking at it and you're thinking, oh, that's rather tight. That's not going to go all the way around, is it? Yeah, okay. Let's increase it a bit more. Okay. And let that take effect. Oh, there we go. Okay, Marvel's Designer just thinking for a little bit there. And what's the particle distance? The particle distance is 5, so it's going to be a bit rough. I think what we should do first is we'll bring the particle distance back up to 10, just so that it's easier on our GPUs. And we'll just get this in the right position first, and then we'll bring it back down to 5. So without further ado, let's go ahead and we'll stitch this up. Stitch the ends like that, and fingers crossed, that will essentially want to wrap itself around the leg. Okay, let's have a look. Let's go give it a go. And yes, voila. Now what's happening there? Absolutely nothing's happening. It's just like a band around the leg. In fact, it's casually making its way up her leg, which is interesting. Okay, Marvel's Designer, fair enough. So there's a couple of things we could do to fix this here. We could actually, where is it here? We could increase the friction. And to increase the friction of the fabric, we actually have to go to the fabric material. And we can kind of be a little bit overboard here. And we can... Is it under detail? Yes, it is. Increase that friction to something ballistic, like 55, so it stops moving about. But you see, this is quite loose right now. And that's why it's not having much effect. So we're going to shrink it down. And we're going to shrink it down quite considerably. And the tighter it gets, the more effect it will start to have on the trouser leg underneath. And as you can see... There you go. Okay, so now you can see that is effectively acting like an elastic band, and you can actually pull the trouser over a little bit, and with the friction there you can see it's basically keeping it in place quite nicely for us, so we can actually get some of these deliberate folds. Now it's a little bit high up, so let's pull this little fella down a bit. There we go, something like that. And basically you want to discourage it to wrapping around a certain part of the trouser leg. You want to try and get it wrapped around to the part of the body, let's say, so somewhere around there. Okay, and I believe actually what might be good is if we, let's see, let's let it sit there for a bit, and let's right click and we'll freeze it. And now if we press simulate, we should just be able to affect the trousers, so to speak. And you can see there that that's still acting like a band essentially to stop the trousers, well, to get those folds essentially. Yeah, so we can pull them up a little bit, up and over like that. Okay, so we can actually get some quite nice folds like that can be quite helpful later on. Okay, now if you're thinking, if you look at our kind of design here, we'll have to add some of this in manually in ZBrush, but you can just keep playing around with this, or don't forget, of course, you do have the shrinkage weft. Okay, now I forgot which one's which, but let's kind of increase the horizontal one, which I think is warp. See what happens if we do that. Yes, there we go. So you can kind of get a bit more kind of volume on the side there, like that. Okay, there we go. So should we see what that looks like? Maybe let's go ahead and we'll kind of turn the particle distance down to 5 just to see if our results are quite. If we like that. Oh, let's go ahead and make sure it's uniformed across all the pieces of the trousers there. Okay, and then we'll bring particle distance down to 5, and we'll see just how nice the folds are at the moment, and if we're happy with them or not. And of course we can tweak it a little bit when it's particle distance 5. Just do bear in mind that our GPUs will scream, and they will hate us for it. But sometimes it's necessary to do that, and the GPUs must simply understand it's necessary. So yes, this blue spinning wheel, very common indeed. Any day now. Thank you, Marvelous Designer. And you can see there that actually we've got some really nice looking folds there. I'm actually quite impressed with that, not gonna lie. I do like the look of that. In fact, I like it so much, I'm gonna give the GPU a break. I'm gonna select these trouser legs here, just this one here, and I'm gonna freeze those. So that's going to be removed from the simulation, so the GPU can breathe a little bit and not worry about that part. So you can see we've done a good job. We brought the pant leg up quite a bit there. It's a little bit higher than the other side, so we have done it realistically, just how we would do in real life. So let's go ahead and copy this, and we can paste it in a reflection style and bring it over there, and you can see what we've got this here as well. Okay, so we can kind of put that into position. We don't want to freeze this just yet. We do want to unfreeze it just to let it kind of wrap itself around the trouser leg first of all. Okay. Oh, I forgot to change that trouser leg back to 10 particle distance. That's going to cost the GPU something. Sorry, GPU, please forgive me. I'm human. I forget things. Oh dear. Yes, it's going, what is this manner of polygons? It's basically screaming at me saying, do you have any idea how hard it is to simulate particle distance 5 with something wrapped around? Oh dear. So anyway, this is the nice thing about not skipping any step. You can see how painful Marvelous Designer can be sometimes. It's a great piece of software, but you must have some solid hardware to get it working just perfectly. Oh, look at that fold up there. I appreciate that fold very much. That's great. I'll be looking forward to sculpting around that in ZBrush. Right, let's go ahead and... I know, it's weird. I get excited about folds. It's just, you have to understand, as an artist working before Marvelous Designer kind of came out or didn't know about it, folds were the thing, you know. The folds had to look amazing. So we'll freeze this. And now that we've got software that basically does the folds for you without going in there and painstakingly doing every single fold in ZBrush and whatnot, and you know, staring until your eyes burn out at references and stuff like this, it's just amazing. It's like, oh goodness, what lovely software. I appreciate it so much. So I get excited about folds. Right, you stop playing around there. It's perfectly fine. There's no need to freak out. It's okay. There you go. Sometimes you have to reassure Marvelous Designer a little bit. It gets a little bit stressed. You know, we all do. We all do. And Marvelous Designer is no different. It gets a little bit stressed. It kind of goes, oh, no, 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 I don't like that. You've just got to reassure it every now and then. Just kind of tell it, you know, it's okay, it's okay. You can do that, Priest. It's okay. I believe in you. And there you go. Okay, so that is a little bit high compared to the other side, but hey, you know what, that's kind of realistic. Maybe one boot's higher than the other, just slightly. If you don't like it, of course, you can move it down. It won't affect too much. It will just kind of allow the fabric to drape a little bit lower. There we go. You might have to encourage it a little bit. There you go. Alright, I like that. I like that a lot. Okay, let's pause the simulation. We'll get rid of these now. We'll kind of, we won't delete them per se. We'll just move them out the way. They are frozen anyway, so they won't be a part of the calculation. And we can finally change the final two pant legs into particle distance 5, and that will basically call it a day for this particular part for the trousers. Okay, so once that's done that, particle distance 5. Oh, actually, what am I doing? I can't do that. I need that there still in place. Phew! Nearly forgot about that. Right, let's simulate that a bit. Shouldn't change too much. It should just kind of give more detail. Anytime now. Anytime now. Excellent. Okay. Yes. Oh, hello. Hello. What's going on here? A bit of chaos, it seems. Here you go. This is the classic example of Marvelous Designer just kind of going, excuse me, I've got a problem. I need help. I need help. I'm scared. I'm panicking. And there we go. We just kind of need to tell it to settle down a little bit. We possibly could unfreeze that just for the time being, just to help it out a bit. And see what kind of... Look at those folds. Wow. Man, they look nice. That's good. I mean, the trousers do look a little bit on the baggier side, but to be honest with you, I'd rather have more folds than less folds, because then I'm a bit more informed of where the folds go. I can always smooth things out in ZBrush. Okay. But it's sometimes harder to put the folds back in ZBrush. Okay. Alright, so what does that look like if I pull it out? There we go. Okay, yes, very clear parts there where the boots would go. They kind of sit under there per se. Okay, pretty good. Alright, okay. Right, well that's good. I'm quite happy with that. I'm going to freeze that. Okay, so you might be thinking, well, what about these belts there? Aren't you going to do the same thing for them? And actually, quite honestly, guys, I'm not sure if I will keep them or not. I think with some of the pouches and stuff like that we'll add to the character, I feel like these side leg thingy-majiggies are probably going to be a bit too much for the design. So I'll leave them out for now, but I'll save this file so I can always come back to it at a later date. Okay, that's the idea there. So that's fine as well. Okay, so we'll leave it like that for now. I think what I'll do here, just to help save on GPU kind of computational power per se, I will probably, what I usually do, and you know, some computers are probably better at doing this, and I could freeze this here, but I like to treat each garment as a separate file. So I'll save this as the kind of final trousers, and then I'll create a new file with the same avatar, and we'll tackle the shirt, okay? And then we'll worry about where the belt sits and everything like that with the shirt a little bit later on, but I'm going to save this as a separate file entirely. And then, so in the next video, let's actually go ahead and tackle the shirt. That is the trouser section complete. Excellent job. Well done.